microtransactions, and
DRM.
Downloadable content.
What's up, gamers? Welcome to Gamer Rant. Former dev speaks out about severe crunch at Mortal Kombat Studios, 80 to 100 hours a week. We're coming at NetherRealms for weeks or months at a time while contractors struggle with low pay. Nothing improved from MKX to Injustice 2. Everything was done down to the wire. Everything was worse. Rebecca Rothschild, former QA analyst. There's plenty of more people that are talking about it, all right? But anyway, we got to just jump into this shit because, well, I got to leave in about 45 minutes to work, so let's just rock and roll, shall we? All right, now, you know, it's kind of ironic when we actually think about this in a larger scale, because when you look at like a franchise like Assassin's Creed, and that it almost felt like and seemed like that for almost like a year or every 2 years, they were releasing an Assassin's Creed game. So it ultimately has to make you wonder whether or not there was some crunch time going on at Ubisoft within of itself. And then, of course, we ultimately find out, ironically, that there's some crunch time going on at BioWare. And then, ironically, there's some crunch time going on at NetherRealms. And, you know, the inherent difference is that, you know, you had some people that were anonymous. Most of them are anonymous, but when it came to which kind of added a little bit more weight and validity to it, is that there were some non-anonymous people speaking out against the bullshit at NetherRealms. Now, one thing that we will ultimately see a lot of people do is they're going to pass the buck on over to the publisher. Well, the problem is Electronic Arts. Well, the problem is Warner Brothers. Y'all need to sit down and shut the fuck up, because the reality of it is there's what we call somebody in charge at NetherRealms and BioWare within of itself. And if they can't make that moral decision to be like, whoa, slow your motherfucking roll, then yes, the individual in charge at said developing company is also at fault, not just the publisher. And not to mention, I highly doubt in any gratification that thereof that the publisher is somehow with a gun to their motherfucking head being like, you better get this shit done. Because the reality of it is, if people had any kind of common sense or balls within of itself, they could have easily got on Twitter right away, social media, and been like, yo, this is what we're doing. This is what the publisher's forcing us to do. And yeah, they said if I speak out about it, they're going to fire me. Well, that's just going to rally people to your side within of itself, which is just going to cause a downhill gratification for said publisher, putting them in the limelight in a very negative way. I don't really get this concept of we need to keep it a secret, and that's only really just a small. I'm not trying to say that, you know, the people that were suffering had to work long hours, that somehow it's their fault. That's not what I'm saying in any facet that thereof. We're inherently talking about the man, the person, the woman in charge of the company not standing up for the employees, because at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with bullshit. Well, it might actually have to do with bullshit microtransactions and DLC, because it's definitely all about that motherfucking money when you're going to sit there and you're going to ignore and slap around your employees for the iteration of basic motherfucking money, because, you know, you got to make that motherfucking money at the end of the day. It's not about the safety and health and concern of your employees, especially the ridiculousness that we learned that some of these employees were making anywhere from $12 to $11. Currently in California, if I'm not mistaken, minimum wage is $11 or $12, all right? So literally we have people in the developing of games that are making less, the same amount of money that someone at McDonald's or Burger King is making in the state of California, and probably other states where minimum wage is similarly close to California at this moment in time. And, you know, the bigger problem that we have to iterate here too is not just this, but why and how. Because when we look at it, this in context, in the viable context, that clearly this is a problem. And it's probably could also relate to why there's so many shitty-ass games, because these people are tired, they can't concentrate, they're being forced and rushed to work excessive hours on these games. And when you think about that in context to every shitty game where you found out it had a short release time, it definitely makes you wonder how much crunching they force their employees to do. And maybe the shitty game has nothing to do with bad programming, bad writing. It has everything to do with the publisher and the individual in charge of that developing company not standing up to the publisher and be like, hey, we need to slow down. You know, we'll work better. We'll create a better product. A better product is better quality. Better quality, the gamers will flock to it. But that's apparently not how this rational thinking Yeah, and there's going to be some people that would argue, well, in retrospect, Mortal Kombat 11 is pretty good quality. I don't know. If you ask me, given all the bullshit going down, and we're not even talking like the microtransactions at this point, but just the pure simplicity of how they're willfully treating their own employees, I would say it's pretty shitty quality within of itself. We have to put our priorities before, well, other priorities, you could say. All right? And at the end of the day, Mortal Kombat 11, and ironically Anthem, no matter how much you, the fan, wants to say that the gameplay is awesome, I'm going to say it's dog shit. As a gamer, I'm against microtransactions and DLC. But one thing that irritates me the most is when a goddamn fucking company is going to put money before its own employees. Health and safety. That's fucking bullshit. Alright? You should be ashamed of yourself, Ed Boon. And you know what? I don't want to hear no excuse from any fanboys. Well, it wasn't Ed Boon. He didn't make them. You know what? He's a motherfucker. He works there. He has just as much influence as whoever the fuck is actually in charge of NetherRealms. If it isn't Ed Boon. And if it is, that just makes it even fucking 100 times motherfucking worse. Because it would make him a piece of shit. Because at the end of the day, he'd be no better than Warner Brothers, and it'd be all about that fucking money. And again, there's no inherent proof that he is in charge, because I'm not really sure who the fuck is in charge, alright? I'm just iterating that if he is, that makes it worse. Why is this? Why do we even have to be talking about this? Why is it that developers and publishers can't get it through their thick goddamn skulls that if you take your time to create a better game, you will sell more money? If you gotta push that date back, that release date, there is nothing in this fucking world that says you gotta release fucking whatever game on whatever fucking date. Nothing in the fucking world. But this is the world that we live in, where developers, at least the people in charge and the publishers, are more worried about fucking money than the safety and health of their own fucking employees. And you know what? In my book, that makes BioWare, I had to think of NetherRealms, Warner Brothers, and Electronic Arts, and anyone else that has done it, a pile of fucking shit. You do not deserve the money. You do not deserve any kind of gratification. These are people that are what? They're making the product that makes you fucking money while you sit on your fucking ass counting your fucking bank account. That's how I fucking look at this. And that, my friend, is fucking atrocious. And if anyone wants to make some kind of bullshit excuse for Warner Brothers or whoever's in charge of NetherRealms, BioWare, well, you're just as much of a big piece of shit as Warner Brothers and Electronic Arts. This shouldn't be happening. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video in some fashion or form. And remember, gamers, if you're not voicing your thoughts and concerns about the bullshit in gaming, about work crunch times, about the health and safety of developers, graphic artists, writers, so on and so forth within the gaming industry and every other industry out there, you just might be a part of the motherfucking problem.